Hello everybody and welcome to the first edition of the vlogs for the 20.1 and newer versions. So those of you that have looked at Jaltest before and have been using us for some time, you can see that the user interface is slightly different. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over all the buttons, see the new things that have been put in and how to navigate around them. Now, the first thing that we're going to see here is that you can personalize now. So there's going to be an option of auto and manual. So right now we started with the manual one, and here it tells you a separation by projects, commercial vehicle, ag, and off-highway. So here I have it catered for the off-highway solution, where I have each one of the elements that I want there, but I could also bring drag and drop. So I just pretty much drag it out here, and now I have the agricultural one. Let's say that I don't want my stationary engines, just bring those out, they disappear. Definitely not want my street sweepers, but I'm big on buses. So I'm big on buses, tractors, and off-highway machinery. So I'm going to be able to add and take away elements as much as I want so I can personalize it. And this is going to be on the manual side of things. Now, don't think that we've forgotten about the key buttons. So the automatic side, everything's going to be the same. You're still be able to look at the connector on the vehicle and then connect to it. So when we're talking about 2018s and newers, here we have the green pin for the a little bit older ones, and the 6-pin, 9-pin, Volvos and Max with the OBD, and then your light commercial vehicles with the 16-pin. Okay, so enough for that part. Here we're going to see on the top that the logo is slightly nicer, and then all the edges are going to be a little bit prettier and more manageable. So if we click on GRP, GRP has gone on an overhaul. GRP is our garage resource planning structure, where you can save all the reports, your customer information, vehicle list, all the reports. When we're talking about maintenance, we're talking about diagnostics reports, you're going to be able to manage that here. And here's the icons that are not highlighted. So when you update to the GRP Synchro or GRP Enterprise, you can manage your full workshop. You can assign tasks, you can create reception work, and you can even manage your human resources. So there's going to be another vlog in detail by one of my colleagues on how to go about GRP, and I recommend you guys take a look at it because it's going to be really detailed. Now this one is something that you have to spend some time on to manage, but it's a very nice resource. Another thing that we see here is VIN info. Okay, so VIN info allows you to insert a VIN and then be able to decode it. So whatever VIN it is, you press decode here and it'll tell you what it is. This one is a 2018 Freightliner Cascadia. It tells us all the information from the VIN. And then here we're going to be able to look at where it was built, type of engine that it has, logo model, and so on. While we're at it, there's also the search, the vehicle browser. When we click on this one, it's also going to have a VIN decoder. Now the difference is that when we click and we introduce this VIN, it's going to be the same VIN that I have saved in my clipboard. We're going to search for it, and this one will take us directly to the communication. So it's going to show us where to connect, what connector we need to use, and then the model on top. Okay, so this one's a little bit more in depth where it takes you to the actual system. Now, I'm going to go back to this VIN vehicle browser option. We're also going to be able to search by model. So let's say that we click on the search by model option. It's going to load here, and in this case we're going to do the Cascadia, and we're going to press enter, and we're going to see all the different options that we have. So a lot of questions that we get are, do you cover this specific model or this specific system? Well, this is one way of going about it. Okay, the last step is going to be search by VIN, search by model, search in vehicle list. So remember that we saw in GRP that you can create your own vehicle list. Every time that a vehicle comes in and you store or report, the information gets there. So you can fill in license plate, but model and VIN are going to go in automatically, and then it's going to associate to your customer. So all these options, search by license plate, model, VIN, you're going to be able to come across them. And if we were to go into a specific system that we already have in our vehicle list, it would show up automatically. So that's what this function is for. Having seen those, we're going to jump out of there. This is going to be our house button, so it's going to take us back to our home screen, and we're going to see that the one that we're missing here is going to be history. History is going to show us our last 20 connections. So the last 20 vehicles that we've connected to, they're going to get stored here with their route. So here we see light, medium duty, Toyota Tundra 5.7. We go a little bit lower, it's going to be ag vehicles, John Deere 6R series, PACCAR engine, MXBR. So as you can see, I've been jumping around a little bit, and it's going to save you everything that you've done for the last 20 times. If you click on it here, so we're going to jump to the PSI engine, it'll take us directly to the route and to the option. Just in case we've gone through a manual route and we don't remember which one it is, this will take us to where we were. Okay, having seen that, we'll jump back to home. And we're going to see the last button here on the top left, which is going to be OEM diagnostic software. Now, the important thing to understand is that our Jaltest VCI link is also going to be RP1210 compliant. That means that you can run any OEM software through there, just like you do with the other comlink adapters, but this one also includes Jaltest, so it's a little bit better on that side. Here you can see the example that I have in my system. I have Cummins Insight, and if I wanted to run Cummins Insight through my box, I would be able to use my same cables. All I would have to do is double click here and be able to launch it. Okay. Options are going to show you to execute, to look at the diagnostic software of any modifications that you want to do. Now, we were to put in a new system, I'll click on new OEM diagnostic software, and then select the manufacturer, name of application, your arguments, and this is the most important part, the executable path, which is pretty much the exe file. So it depends on where you save it on your computer. Normally in C, somewhere around there, you're going to have the, let's say, the Insight exe. Click on that, and then all you have to do is press check mark. In this case, obviously, I didn't select any of them, so it's not going to show me anything. But if it were correct, it would end up putting up another line here and say, for example, my CAD-AT, it would just show up here. So you can run, again, all your OEM diagnostic software through the Jaltest communicator box, and that way you have to have multiple connectors, multiple boxes, and you can launch it from your Jaltest software. Okay, that's being RP12 compliant. Now we jump over to the right buttons, and these are going to be the social media and web pages. So anything that you want to look at in Facebook, YouTube, our website in Kajali USA or Jaltest website, these are direct access to them. I recommend you follow our YouTube channel because these type of videos are going to come on here, and then you can also look at more information like what shows we're going to be present through the Kajali USA web. You could also see some training material, news that's been coming out, new updates that we're going to be launching, and so on. So again, this is going to be the globe for anything that's social networks and web pages. Jumping on to the next one, preferences button. This is pretty much going to be the main menu on the Jaltest software, and we're just going to do this one like everything else from left to right. When we go into configuration, we see that there's new options where you can always change language. So that's one of the things. Let's say half of your text work in English and the other half work in Spanish. You just click on it every time that you launch it, you change it, and then they can work in their language of choice. Graphic customization allows us to change it to green, yellow, or red, or the standard one in blue that I have. That's your preference, whatever you prefer. And you could also select the size of the text and other elements. So you're going to be able to do this here. Here I have it adjusted to screen resolution. That's because sometimes I work with a 30-inch screen, sometimes I work with the laptop, so it adjusts automatically. When we jump into activate expert mode, here we're going to see something that's been requested for some time now, and our engineering team has listened and put it in. So once we introduce the expert mode code, we've introduced this last click where it says keep the expert mode activated for each execution of the application. That means that you don't have to put it on every single time. So now you close the software, you open it up again, expert mode is going to continue to be activated. All right, so it's going to save those headaches. Now, for all of those that do an update and the first version of the year, the expert mode changes. So you have to go into your user area in jaltest.com, introduce the data, and generate a new expert mode code. That's going to get emailed or sent by SMS. But remember, for example, here we have 20.1 version. This code is new. It's just been generated. Next year, when we do the 21.1, following year 22.1, you're going to have to generate one time a year. Then it's going to be valid for the next updates without a problem. Units of measurement, same thing here. You're going to be able to adjust your measurements based on what you prefer, if you're on the imperial system or the metrics. Messages, you're going to be able to activate them, and then one of the most important ones here is going to be product improvement. So here you see that I have accepted the submission of data. Now this one, we're not going to get your specific data. This is just to see types of connections and vehicles, and this helps improve the tool. You can't even imagine how many ways. So we get a set of files every time that you do an update, and we can see things that haven't been working. So if there's a problem with connections, if there's a problem with any of the situations, we're going to be able to work it out, fix it, and solve it without anybody being involved on it. All right. And then the last three buttons that you see here are going to be if you always want to perform a system scan or system scan and read fault codes, you can select one and always have it run that way. I'm going to leave it on choose. The same thing is going to happen for when we're talking about OBD, Volvo, and Mac. Okay, so you can do systems or all systems. It's going to allow you those different configurations based on your preferences. Jumping on to Jaltest link, this one's going to be an interesting one because here is where we're going to have the information on the link. So I'm running the new V9. Here we have the serial number, the address, and so on. So all this, great, but it doesn't give us much information. But when we jump into the next one, select communication mode. Here's where we change from USB to Bluetooth, okay? So this one's important. Now, this is also the first step of troubleshooting when the tool is not working properly. Sometimes we get a problem that's 004 or 007. It's not communicating, okay? So the first thing that we have to do is go to select communication test. Remember, we're in preferences, Jaltest link, select communication mode, and we're going to run a connection test. This is going to tell us what battery we have connected. So it's going to tell us if our vehicle is at 12 volts or more, how it should be, or if it's below that. If we see that it's below that, then that's the solution to our problem. But that's not always a problem. So sometimes we have battery, but we're still not communicating. The hardest thing to find are if we're transmitting data. So we've put the vehicle bus communication test where you can put 100 or 1,000, and then you run and you check CAN bus. What it's going to do is that it's going to go through all the pins and it's going to figure out which one is sending data. So if you have a problem with your harness or the pins or something is wrong with the ECM on the communication lines, well, this is going to allow us to do it. In this case, I'm not connected to any truck, so it says no communication was detected. If this were the case and that wasn't a real vehicle, then the first thing I would have to do is go to my wiring schematics and figure out how to fix my harness. And then the last one is going to be the update of the diagnostics interface. This one's just going to tell you the firmware and the software versions and if these are matched, okay? Next thing is going to be Jaltest feedback. Now this one's important because first of all, every time that there's a problem, you can send it to us and it's going to store the history and the new ones. So if we go to the new Jaltest feedback, and I recommend everybody to do this when they have a problem or an idea or a suggestion, because at the end of the day, the tool gets fitted to what you guys request. So you're going to be able to put fault information or suggestion and then put whatever subject you want. You put a description, not working properly or whatnot. Here you see that my company information is already registered, and then I would have to fill in my personal information. Since I don't want to do this every single time, I would save contact for future feedback, and then you can add vehicle, programming systems, if you want to add a picture, file, or whatnot. And then the last one is going to be send, where you have to accept terms and then just send that. Now the advantage of this is that we're getting the file from the connection and that's going straight into our engineering department. So they're going to be answering within 24 hours, okay? So normally if it's before 1 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to be within a few minutes or an hour. If it's after that, then it's going to take us 24 hours. But the advantage is that the engineering team, the guys that are behind the development of the software, are actually going to pitch in. They're going to look at your problem and they're going to give you an answer. So if you think about it, when do you have that opportunity to have a direct access to the guys that are designing the software, okay? Jumping onto the license, every time that we do a renewal for our license, we're going to have to go to this area, license information. Here it shows what we have activated, the amount of days left, serial number, and my expiration date. I also have info online. So when I go, I call my distributor and I do an update, and then what do I have to do next? When everything's updated and the green light, the only thing you have to do is click on update status, and that's it. It's going to be renewed and you'll be good to go. Now, if you jump into the license management option here, for safety reasons, in order to configure the license state, Jaltest must be closed. Do you wish to continue? Then you proceed with that manner. And if you have a scratch off code, all you do is click on here, you enter the scratch off code. Again, it would kick us out, so we're going to stay in there. Just fill in the code, right? So licenses, where you make sure that everything is active. Right here, the green light, what systems are available, days left in your license, and it's also going to help you when you do the updates. Data player. This is where we can play the recordings that we already do. So we have an option with the data recorder for every system that we can record up to 30 minutes of an over-the-road action. That allows us to see when something's going wrong and be able to do the playback, see what codes are present and so on. And this would be the spot where we can go select whatever file we just saved and start the playback. Okay, so this is where we pick up the data. And the last button is going to be the brand model personalization. This one is going to allow us to create brands and models that are personalized, just as the name says. Now, when is this useful? When we're talking about off-highway machinery that we don't have the specific brand, or when we're talking about an RV, for example. An RV, we can give it the name and then we can adjust it, and sometimes it's going to be a Freightliner chassis, sometimes it's going to be a Detroit engine, or maybe it can be a Cummins engine and Allison transmission. So when we have these things that are kitted up and the brand is not available, we can create our own brand if we're going to work on that continuously. Now there's going to be another vlog as well for this brand model personalization, so we can go in detail on the process of creating one, so don't miss out on that one. And that's pretty much it for the preferences button. Okay, those of you that are working with tablets, show the virtual keyboard. This is going to allow you to click on everything as you want. And then the camera is going to allow us to do screenshots. So we've added more options where we just went from the print to include in Diagnostics report or send screenshot through Jaltest feedback. So in future vlogs, you're going to see how including into the Diagnostics report will allow you to later keep that information from the screenshot associated to the repair that you're doing. Okay, and then we're going to finish off with the last one, which is going to be the question mark. And this is going to show you a lot of options. So the first one, probably the most important and common one, every time that you have a problem with connection or with anything, go to remote assistance. You click on it and it's going to launch TeamViewer or quick support depending on how you have it installed. Quick support is also going to give you an ID and a password. So ID, password, that information, we need you to email it to us, or we need you to just call and give us that information. That'll allow us to connect into your computer and see exactly what you're looking at. And that way we can help you with any issues with the software, downloads, installs, communication errors, or whatnot. Installation guide is going to be a step-by-step procedure on how to go about running the installation, and it's going to give you detailed explanations. So when you're jumping into the new V9 or doing an upgrade, here you have certain set of requirements. Information is always going to be available. And then glossary is going to be for every time they have a question. What does this term mean? What is the definition of this? So it's going to be there available. Let's say that you have a question, go to a simple one. So we're going to go to EGR, jump over here, and here it tells us EGR, exhaust gas recirculation. And if we go to the I, it's going to tell us what it does, controls the airflow from the exhaust manifold to the intake temperature, a little bit more explanation and so on. So this one's an easy one, but sometimes you run into things that you don't really know what they are. So the description, the glossary is there for you to help. Contact details. Sometimes you can't find our phone number. Sometimes you can't find the business card of the guy that sold it to you. So we've integrated the information here. You guys are going to be looking for Kajali USA, and that's where we're going to be available, either at the 305-960-7651, the toll-free number, or if you're calling us from Mexico, this one would be it. Any issues that you have, go to customer support at jaltest.com, and we'll all be answering from that email. Unit conversion. Now this one has more often than we would like. When an ECM is built in Europe, then you're going to have to do that conversion. So let's say the most common one is going to be in speed. Now you want to change to a certain mile an hour, but you have to put it into kilometers per hour. So we're going to put miles per hour in the value. Let's say that we want to change our vehicle speed to 80. Well, automatically we know that if it's reading in kilometers per hour, we have to put it at 128.74. Okay, so this unit conversion is going to help us out through the process, not only with speed or miles an hour, but if we want to go into temperature and we put 35 degrees Celsius, and obviously not Kelvin but Fahrenheit, it's going to be 95 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, so conversion, no need to go to Google, it's going to be in here. Icon description is going to be a little bit like the glossary. When you look at something, for example, what we saw before, social networks and web pages, here is a description. You're going to be able to scroll down through everything that's around here. For example, a new symbol that you're going to see later on, repair times, more things that are going to be available as time comes. So all that information is right here. Innovations is something that shows you the videos. Every time that we do an update, this case 20.1, we have a video with the most common things, the newest things that have been added, what has been changed, and what coverage for the most important systems. You also have detailed functions that are going to be detailed here. Coverage report, it's going to talk to you about the new link in this case. And then here you're going to be able to download by each project, commercial vehicle, ag and off highway, what are the specifics. So it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 10 pages with screenshots and an explanation of what has been added and how that improves the tool. Jaltest training videos, that's one of the things that we're doing right now. So you would jump on here and then Jaltest Vlog 1, the equivalent for the V9, the 20.1 update, that's going to be there. So when you click on whichever one, it's going to take you directly to the video on YouTube, and it's going to show it to you, but within the software. So you don't have to get out of the software. There's going to be a set of vlogs that are going to help you out for when you don't remember how to do something or when you don't know how to do something. Sometimes it's better to watch a 4-minute video that's on YouTube accessible than go crazy about it, or if it's a weekend and nobody can answer, well, these are going to help you out further. All right, so remember that in help menu. Jaltest training videos are there. As well, to help out in any of these problems or questions, we have the FAQs, which are the frequently asked questions. It's going to launch. And for example, how can I renew my license? Well, here you have the procedure that we just went over. In case that you get a corrupt license, well, that's going to be there. If we scroll to the top of the document, they're all going to be hyperlinks. So all we have to do is press the control key and then click on here, requirements for my PC, what's my Bluetooth code, 1234, how do I generate the expert mode, that we always have questions, so that first time of the year, we could always go to the FAQ and follow the procedure that's on there. Jaltest tool catalogs is not here yet in the US, but if you want to scroll down and see some of the things that we do in Europe, feel free to do that. And then information about Jaltest, just in case that you want to look into the terms and agreements, the expert mode declaration of responsibilities, and so on. All right. And we're going to finish off with that with our help menu. We've pretty much gone over all the buttons that are going to be here. The last part is going to be if we're connected here to USB, that's how it's going to show the version that we're running. Here, if expert mode is active or inactive. Here I'm running demo mode, so it's a simulation. The amount of days left, so when you want to do an upgrade and they ask you how many days left do you have for renewal, this would be it. It's also a guide to know when you're going to expire. Status of the battery, connected to the Wi-Fi. Here it's at 100%, but I can change the zoom in and the out. And here there's going to be a calendar to tell us what date we're on and the time. So with this, we've gone through all the buttons on the main screen. Our next vlog, we're going to actually connect to something and go through the functionalities. So thank you for tuning in. Remember to visit us at kajalusa.com, our YouTube channel with Jaltest vlogs. And any questions you have, feel free to reach out to us at customer support@jaltest.com. Thank you for your time and see you soon.